Happy end of 2020, everybody. It's over. I usually get asked on social media by our friend Scott / Mr. Snarls for my top 10 albums of the year. I'm usually not one to toot my own horn or anything like that, so this is going to be kind of strange. In fact, me putting out this YouTube channel is sort of strange. I have a lot of content ready to come out this year, so I'm pretty excited to do it. And I'm also going to do my top 10 albums of the year. It feels a little strange, but let's do it in video form. You ready for it? Let's do it. Album number 10 is I Like It by Toehider. I'm representing today. It's hard not to like this album, especially if you like anything creative, fun. Honestly, this guy doesn't take himself terribly seriously. There's a lot of humor. And man, if you like just somebody who wears a ton of their influences on their sleeve and yet is so unique in the way they deliver their music, Toehider's amazing. Check out the track Go Full Bore. It's got this video game inspired, like streamer inspired sort of music video with it. It's so much fun. It runs the gamut from like speed metal to black metal to Queen to everything, all in one track. So go give it a listen. Toehider's I Like It. 2020 was a ton about self-care, and this album was a self-care sort of album. Man, did it get me through some tough times. And honestly, not even really the album itself necessarily, but the build-up to the album was so much fun. It was the first time I ever sort of felt like I was part of a kind of a fandom, if you want to put it like that. I went to go see Arion last September. It's September of 2019, and apparently they were finishing this album around that time, which makes it even more exciting to sort of think about. Transitus, crazy, neo-gothic adventure, starring a ton of Arion favorite singers and stuff. Some new ones, Cammy from Oceans of Slumber. So many good people on this album. Go check it out. Dee Snider, how can you say no? Didn't make it higher on my list. Doesn't hit quite as hard as some other Arions, but honestly, that kind of makes it unique and a fun listen in my book. Transitus. Every time Catatonia puts an album out, it's amazing. But you also usually know what to expect, you know? It's, Jonas Rinsky kind of like singing in his like emo, hair over the eyes, sort of like monotone. This album surprised me a little bit though in that regard. A little bit more of that Swedish death metal songwriting style and a little bit more soul in Jonas's voice. So kind of cool, kind of different. Behind the Blood, Flicker, 2 great tracks on here. Go check them out. Such a good album. Go listen to it. Singing in a melodic death metal band has definitely opened my eyes a lot over the last few years. I've been a huge fan of melodic death metal for a long time, and one of my favorite bands that only put out one great album was Disillusion. They put out Back to Times of Splendor, Back to Times of Splendor, quite a while ago. It was in the early 2000s. One of the best things ever, like long songs and super epic, nice and poppy sing-along choruses. But at the same time, man, they didn't put out anything all that worth listening to for a long, long time. And until The Liberation came out, they are back on top, and the songwriting is amazing. It's a little doomier and a little bit more sludgy than that last album, but the melodic death metal stuff is totally still there, and it's great to have them back after so long. The Liberation and the song Liberation on here is just a banger. Go listen to it. The awesome music video for that one up on YouTube. Go check it out. I feel like this band is going to take the world over. This is Caligula's Horse, The Tempest. If not for nothing but the song Salt on here. It's the 3rd track. It's not even a single, but so epic. Starts off with the blast beats, crazy melodic ridiculousness, and one of the most epic endings to a song I've heard in a long, long time. Their albums have just gotten more and more sophisticated and amazing as time's gone on, so give them a listen. Also, one of the bonus tracks on here is Don't Give Up by Peter Gabriel. That's that music video where he's like spinning in a circle, hugging Kate Bush. It melts my heart every time. Go listen to it. Check it out. Caligula's Horse. Now, everyone knows I'm a Beatles fan, and so of course I'm going to listen to whatever new Beatles record came out, for former Beatles, of course. This album's a little different. Paul McCartney did not market this the way he usually does. Usually there's a bunch of singles that you're sick of by the time the album comes out, and the rest of the album's kind of like weird and meh. The thing that makes all the actual like McCartney albums, this is like McCartney 3, like there's 1 and 2 also, came out in 1970 and 1980 respectively, is that they are a little bit more self-contained and a little bit more experimental in that way, and this is no different. I think my favorite track on here is Deep, Deep Feeling. It's a little bit kind of slow, really experimental, lots of layered voices and stuff, a little jazzy. I dug it. Honestly, Paul should kind of go in that direction. There's a little bit of that staring down the empty void of existence sort of feeling that I got from Black Star by David Bowie, but like just kind of feeling like getting older and getting nearer to the end and stuff. There's a little bit of that like lyrical content sort of going on in here, but otherwise the album feels nice and fresh and different. And honestly, Paul doesn't need other people to write music. I feel like it's a crutch sometimes for him. So this is amazing. Go give it a listen. My number 4 album is, well, I don't have it with me, but it's Jacob Collier's Volume 3, Jesse Volume 3, and it's fantastic. I loved the first two. The first one was really orchestral. The second one was a lot more acoustic stuff. That one did not make it into my top 10 list the year it came out, but this one is close to the top because it's so good. This one's a little bit more synth pop and hip hop influenced, and for some reason that's just been speaking to me the last couple of years. Don't know why. It's starting to happen a little bit. I think it happens to every person at some point. Start experimenting with hip hop and those kind of beats and stuff like that. But honestly, Jacob Collier does it masterfully. Songs like "Sleeping on My Dreams," that's like the best track on the album. It's hard to deny. Go check that out as well. Number 3. Somebody asked me what the soundtrack to 2020 was. I would say easily Song Machine Season 1 by Gorillaz. This album started to sort of kind of leak out a little bit earlier this year, maybe even at the end of 2019. We got songs like Momentary Bliss and Désolé. And as we kind of get into that weird quarantine time, they kept putting songs out. And it was different from the usual Gorillaz thing because they usually put out a couple of singles with a little interlinked story, and then the rest of the album is sort of like its own exploration. Where this one, they let all the songs sort of stand on their own as singles first before they were collected together in an album. There's a couple that weren't made into music videos, but honestly, the whole album is just stellar. What also sets this apart is that every song is a collaboration. And it's, kind of makes every song a little special in that way. Some of my favorites, let's see, Value of the Pagans with Beck. I think my favorite on here is Pink Phantom with Elton John. To hear Elton John with some hip-hop beats and a rapper in the background all at once, I don't know if there's anything quite like it. It kind of hits all the right things, and for me was the perfect, semi-depressing but really uplifting and amazing experience that 2020 was, and will always be remembered as. Now, Haken put out their 6th album this past year. It was a sort of a mini sequel to the album from before called Vector. They were going to call it Virus the whole time, apparently, and it just so happened, the serendipitous thing that is the world kind of allowed them to make an album exactly about a lot of the things going on in the world. But it was less about a virus of the body and more of the mind. This finishes off the Cockroach King saga inside the Haken albums, if you want to call it that, with a 17-minute song suite called Messiah Complex. It did everything, this album. It's got their metal genty stuff that they've been known for the last couple of years, and Messiah Complex kind of more incorporates a little bit of that long song structures that they were known for on their first couple of albums. So if you're a huge Haken fan, get a hold of it. If you haven't stepped into this realm of Haken and you like Dream Theater or anything like that, you're totally missing out. They are basically the new Dream Theater. So enjoy. Now, this isn't my favorite album of the year, but it is a live experience I got to talk about before I tell you about my favorite album. Right before quarantine hit, it was late February 2020. I went to go see Devin Townsend with Haken as a support. And this album just reminds me of that weird time. 2020 was about to be this kind of fun and uplifting year musically. Devin Townsend was sort of just sort of had this new musical kind of life breathed into him. No more backing tracks. Everything was live performed on stage, and there was so much energy and excitement that, I'm glad they captured it, because this was the European leg of the tour that I ended up seeing right before that tour ended up getting cut short because of virusy things. So watching this sort of takes me back to that early 2020 before it turned into what it is. So give this all a listen. I know it's on Spotify and stuff to listen to, but watching it, of course, kind of takes me there. Disco Inferno. Yeah. And a bunch of songs off key, so you can't go wrong there. And finally, 2020. It is what it is. I don't know if there's anything else more I can say about 2020. Thundercat put out this album, and it basically set the mood. I was about to go see him as well, and that got canceled, unfortunately, as well. But the first song to come off of this was Black Walls. Some good collabs with other artists. Childish Gambino's on the track, for example. This album just has the right amount of, and there's even a song called Existential Dread, but existential dread and acknowledgement of the realities of the world while still sort of like lying in this weird sleepy dream state that feels like 2020. This was the best album of the year for me. Dragon Ball Do-Rag, so much fun. Yeah, so many good songs on here that just kind of like encapsulate everything. This is very different for me. Usually I put some progressive metal epic at the very, very top of my list. Those were in slightly short supply this year. It allowed Thundercat to sort of take the top spot. So this has sort of been emblematic of a lot of the musical experimentation I've been personally kind of jumping into this year as well. Just listening to other kinds of stuff, not sticking into my own little world. It's still, complex and strange enough that it makes sense to me, but it's definitely something different. And it's Thundercat. It is what it is. So that was 2020, everybody. There's a few things to look forward to. Thanks for stopping by this channel. I'm going to be uploading stuff pretty regularly throughout the year. Maybe not as much as I usually would on like Nerdstradamus or something like that. But I'm going to give it a go. I don't know how many of these talking head videos I'm going to make. They feel weird, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen here and there. I definitely want to talk about some music a lot this year, and so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to do so. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for hopping in there. And as a little thing to look forward to, my album is going to drop in March. We'll see how that all goes. I'm very excited for it. It's got a lot of everything that I like to do and like to listen to right now. So hopefully you guys will enjoy. Anyway, that's it. That was 2020. Lambo out. We'll see you later, everybody.